It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. It costs that much cause I don't have superpowers. So you need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours. You need to pay for my skills cause exposure doesn't pay the bills. It costs that much cause it takes me fucking hours.
Shut up, bitch!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
School and all James was can say is, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When a Bowen turned into a vampire, all James was can say was, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he became Peter's best friend, they sat around the house and said, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices lingerie well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When they know that he's an actor, the best of them all when he says, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Reese's Pieces on the floor and watch him come a saying, ooh, I'll be second day. 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 And you know that James Woods practices lingerie well, but everything that he reads becomes real hard to spell. Everyone tries to help him, but the words just won't come out. There's only one thing he can think of, and it's what comes out his mouth. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 When he comes out of his house, the women scream and shout. Ooh, I'll be second day. 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 Ooh, I'll be second day.
Fucking thing sucks!
Oh, hell yeah. I am so ready for this show tonight, ladies and germs. It's going to be a barn burner, as Keith Jackson used to say in college football games. This one's going to be a barn burner. It's Ohio State versus Michigan Wolverines. So, anyway, that's sports ball talk. Sorry. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Extra Bulla Live. I'm your host, Uncle Warren, as the nomenclature down below says. I want to quickly get to the chat because I want to get to our guest tonight. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a fun one. I got Ed in the chat there. Good to see you, brother. Willie Bragg Show. Good to see you, Willie. Be sure to check out Willie Bragg on YouTube. He's going to be on with Jimmy tomorrow for what? So that's going to be fun, too. My producer, Les Bones, is here. Kelly, good to see you. Nikichka. Hello, my little Russian nesting doll. It is so good to see you. Yona's here. It's good to see you. Where Pilgrim. Awesome to see you as well. Miss Jimmy, of course, good to see you. We got Misty in the chat too, doing a little pregame with the kids, saying hi. Game.Film's here too. Good to see you. I believe that's everybody. And Oz popped in earlier to say hi as well. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? Of course, my guest tonight, she's of course friend of the show. She's been on here a couple of times, and I've been on her radio show on TNT Radio, and of course we always have a great rapport. I love talking to this sweet lady. Tonight we are going to be talking about Julian Assange. What else is new? Well, there is some news. Let's bring in Misty. What is up, lady? Good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. It's been a long time since I've been on camera, period. I've been taking a break. It's been very nice. We were just talking about before the show. I can't remember if it was RBN or INN that I was on last, but I've mostly just been doing rare appearances on other people's shows. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I've been doing grocery store openings, with those big giant comedy scissors. I only do those things just so I could steal the scissors and take them home.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like to do the discount tire places with the inflatable guy.
The wacky inflatable arm swinging dude. I know. I wish I had room for that. I'd totally be my roommate, but of course, he's not going to pay rent, and and I'll just resent him for being a freeloader. So, all this air I put into you, and what do I get? Bubkus.
You get the joy of looking at the wacky inflatable guy, Warren.
I know, right? That's some nightmare fuel right there. I would be just like. You wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, this is a really small place, right? You wake up in the middle of the night and there's this little cartoon face and these hands doing like this, like oh, the humanity. Anyway, we're not here to talk about nightmare fuel of that respect. We're talking about nightmare fuel of the journalistic kind, as the squelching of free press in this country. And some news dropped today, like we said, the New York Times totally doing a 180, and some other news outlets too, saying all of a sudden, say free Assange, and you would think, on the surface level, hey, that's great, right? Finally, where the fuck have you been? But I'm always suspect of these people. Nobody.
I'm not impressed.
Right. I mean, I was saying on Twitter today, like these outlets that are run by billionaires are not going to change their mind out of the kindness of their heart. There's got to be something underlying. Why don't you unleash, lady? What you got for me?
Yeah, I'm going to apologize to your audience in advance. I am fired the fuck up. There's going to be rants. I'm pissed. And I'm probably going to get in trouble. People are, why are you should be excited that mainstream media is talking about Julian Assange. And listen, of course, Of course. It's great that Julian Assange is getting mainstream media coverage. That's always good. You guys know that I don't shy away from any outlet. I don't care who it is. I've been going after mainstream sources, trying to get them to cover Julian Assange for years. So yes, obviously the fact that that's out there in the public consciousness now and that it's being discussed, and that today, I mean, it was everywhere, all over social media, which is fabulous, because the more that happens, the more people are introduced to the case, and then maybe will perhaps inform themselves about what's going on. However, first of all, let's explain that the reason why this letter of support came out today is because today is the 12-year anniversary of the release of Cablegate. Thank you, Julian. For those of you who are not aware of what Cablegate is, it's a massive, hundreds of thousands document leak of State Department cables. Really rips the mask off of the empire. There's a ton of, there's no way I could possibly go through everything that's included in the Cablegate releases. If you are not familiar with it, please. Perhaps I'll do like a whole show on the A4A channel or something where we really dive into Cablegate, because there's so much. Honestly, there's no way we could do it all. But go read it. Read the articles that have been written about it by journalists who have done the work of going through them. If you don't have, listen, there's no way one human being could go through them all. I just don't think it's possible. But there's a ton of information included in the Cablegate releases. So today is the 12-year anniversary of those releases. And the 5 signatories on this open letter of support are the 5 publishing partners of Cablegate. So that would be the New York Times, Guardian, El País, Der Spiegel, and Le Monde. So here's where my however comes in. El País, Der Spiegel, and Le Monde. I don't speak the languages of those newspapers, so it would be really irresponsible of me to judge their coverage of the Assange case. Just, stuff gets lost in translation. I would never seek to make a judgment on that without being better informed about what their coverage has been like. And I'm just not, so I'm not going to do that. I know that they cover it far more than anybody covers it in the United States, but I don't speak those languages, so I feel a little uncomfortable making a judgment on those publications. But the New York Times and the Guardian, I don't think anybody in your audience will be surprised, are garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. They are propaganda rags. They are seriously, you guys, these are the people, in particular, the New York Times were a huge part of why we ended up in Iraq in the first place. But my particular beef today is really with the Guardian. The absolute audacity of the Guardian. Let me pull this up. Of the Guardian signing on to, hold on, I have a shit ton of screenshots from today. This is a paragraph in the open letter that was signed today by those 5 signatories that I mentioned. I quote, "This group of editors and publishers, all of whom had worked with Assange, felt the need to publicly criticize his conduct in 2011 when unredacted copies of the cables were released, and some of us are concerned about the allegations in the indictment that he attempted to aid in computer intrusion of a classified database." Okay, I'm going to read just that first part again. "This group of editors and publishers, all of whom had worked with Assange, felt the need to publicly criticize his conduct in 2011 when unredacted copies of the cables were released." Do you want to know how those unredacted copies of those cables were released? Had nothing to do with Julian Assange. It was 2 fucking Guardian journalists. It was Luke Harding and David Lee, who used the encryption key for the cables as the name of a chapter in their fucking book. And that's how those unredacted cables got out into public. And there is actual video evidence of Julian Assange attempting to reach somebody at the State Department, in particular Hillary Clinton, who was serving as Secretary of State at that time, to warn them that, hey, we had nothing to do with this, but these guys published the encryption key. That means that very soon all of this stuff is going to be incredibly public, unredacted. There's nothing we can do about it. This is your problem. And they gave him the runaround, and this is all on camera. Again, they put him on hold. Can we call you back later? I got to speak to blah, 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 blah. I mean, the dude is on the phone telling you that, names are going to be released that maybe shouldn't be released, and that, and had nothing to do with Julian Assange. It was 2 Guardian journalists. So the idea that The Guardian, the editors at The Guardian, sign on to this letter that includes that paragraph is a fucking joke. It's mind-blowing to me. But nobody, I mean, well, I'll call them out. But most people don't know that. So they can kind of get away with it, and they can kind of, it's just, it is, and The Guardian has a long history, the New York Times as well. But The Guardian has been particularly egregious in their smearing of Julian Assange, the regurgitation of the State Department smears against him, he smears poop on the walls, and he's a rapist, and he's a hacker, and he's a this, and he's a that. I'll remind you that also Luke Harding is the author of the Paul Manafort story, which celebrated its 4-year anniversary of still being available on The Guardian's website. Still, to this day, a completely fabricated story regarding Paul Manafort supposedly visiting Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy, which, mind you, while Julian Assange was staying there, was probably the most surveilled building on planet Earth. And there's no video evidence. He never signed into the Ecuadorian embassy. None of the staff members of the embassy ever said that he came to visit. But Luke Harding wrote this whole ass article, including making up a whole outfit for Paul Manafort to wear on his imaginary visit to Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy. And that article is still to this day up on their website. And that article at that time played a huge and important role in manufacturing the consent for his arrest. That was just months before he was yanked out of the Ecuadorian embassy and put into Belmarsh. And that's what those articles were intended to do. That whole, if you guys remember, mid to late 2018, there was a very intense smear campaign going on against Julian Assange. It always heightens around important court dates, or if we have like a protest plan, you'll start to see, I'll get more and more trolls. You can tell that something's going on, right? And at mid to late 2018, the smear campaign really elevated. And that's when the whole, he's an unwanted house guest, he's overstayed his welcome, he smears poop on the walls, he doesn't take care of his cat, he doesn't shower, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do, you know what I mean? Like the whole trying to make him out to be like this gross, irresponsible and ungrateful menace to the Ecuadorian government. That's when that all started. And Luke Harding and The Guardian played a major role in that. And I am not ever going to give them a pass. This is too little, too late. And to be fair, I do just want to be fair if we're being objective here. Each of these 5 publications have in some way, no matter how mild or what kind of spin that they put on it before, have spoken out against what's happening to Julian Assange in very vague ways. The editorial board will say, this is a threat to the First Amendment, blah, blah, blah. They haven't done near enough, and they're very, very quiet about it. But again, I'm always grateful when Julian Assange is mentioned in mainstream press. I'm always grateful when he is trending on social media. I'm always grateful for that extra coverage of the case. But fuck these guys.
Yeah. No, and I saw you on Twitter today, and you were just you were just going off all day today, and it was great. I do want to show one of your tweets though that particularly caught my eye. Speaking of The Guardian, if I can pull this up here, so let me see what this says here. You said that the fucking Guardian has the nerve to sign on to a letter that includes this paragraph when it was 2 of their journalists, quote unquote journalists, who published the encryption key to unredacted cables is a fucking joke. Go fuck yourselves. I love the Misty that does not mince words. When the go fuck yourself comes out, that was well deserved. And so you attached here, this group of editors and publishers, all of whom have worked with Assange. This is The Guardian speaking, I think, right? This is the open letter. This is what I just read. This is the open letter from the 5 signatories: the New York Times, The Guardian, El País, Der Spiegel, and Le Monde. It's just so this group of editors and publishers, all of whom had to work with Assange, felt the need to publicly criticize his conduct in 2011 when unredacted copies, that, like you said, some of us are concerned about the allegations in the indictment. It's almost like the backhanded compliment, but we come together now to express our grave concerns about the continued persecution of Julian Assange.
And just
come
the
together
hypocrisy of The Guardian, who's responsible for the unredacted cables being released in the first place, to come out and be like, oh, we condemned Julian Assange's conduct. who the fuck do you think you are to condemn Julian Assange's conduct? It is well known. And if on that tweet as well, there's an excerpt from Stefania Maruzzi's new book, which highly recommend. Please go get that. Please go get that book. Her book and Professor Nils Melzer book on Julian Assange are absolute must reads. But there's a quote from her book in there where she discusses she was a partner with Julian Assange very early on. She's worked with them for years, with WikiLeaks for years. And they're well, anybody who's ever worked with them, it is well known that they are incredibly strict. Like, you're not allowed to talk on the phone. You're not allowed to send emails. You're not allowed to deal with anything that is not 100% encrypted. Their redaction process is well known. WikiLeaks is a tiny publication. They don't have a lot of employees, and they spent just a ridiculous amount of time, energy, effort, money, resources going through, and their redaction process was really kind of unmatched and kind of revolutionary, really, if you think about the size of their organization trying to manage what they were managing when there was really WikiLeaks was the first. There was no, like, here's a map of how you deal with this stuff. Here's a map of how you go about publishing 100% verifiable, authenticated source documentation. They did it first. So the idea that they've managed to do that in the way that they have, and to the standard that they have, and to have a 100% record of accuracy over the course of their existence is kind of amazing. Not really kind of, it's amazing. And I realize that people, oh, you're biased because you're obsessed with Assange. No, that's just reality. I mean, if you name another news organization on planet Earth who has a 100% record of accuracy, I'll wait. It doesn't exist. And again, this is not, I tweeted this out earlier too. We need to appreciate what WikiLeaks actually gave to us. That's not conjecture. Like, this is not opinion pieces. This is not some talking heads screaming at each other on a Sunday morning news show. They give you 100% verifiable source documentation. It's just the truth in black and white. Here's the information. You read it, you decide what it means and what you're going to do with it. That's it. And that is, again, the first that's ever done that. They revolutionized the way whistleblowing was done. They revolutionized the way journalism was done. And, you know, again, the idea that the Guardian of all publications to have the nerve to come out and sign a letter like that is mind-blowing. And I'm going to get in trouble because, again, people are always like, oh, you should take the help where you can get it. And it's great that they're covering. And yes, I said that at the top. Always happy when Julian Assange gets any coverage whatsoever. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Tucker Carlson. I don't care if it's The Guardian. But they are absolute pieces of shit. They have had a very heavy hand in the situation that Julian Assange finds himself in right now. And they don't get a pass. They get no pass from me. I don't care. I'm not here to kiss their ass. It's not going to affect whether or not they cover it or how they cover it, because they just don't give a shit. That is a propaganda. It's basically, state propaganda. That's what it is. It should have UK affiliated state media underneath Luke Harding's name, because that is exactly what he is. He is a paid propagandist and he's a piece of shit. And yeah, they had seriously huge part to play in what the situation Julian Assange finds himself in right now. And I make no excuses for calling them out for it. None.
That's the thing though. It's like they've been one thing they have been consistent on is shitting on Julian Assange this whole time, but now all of a sudden they sign this letter, this mea culpa, not even a mea culpa. It's just we've got to, we have, all of a sudden they've had this change of heart, and that's what we were saying. This is suspect as hell. I'm in the same camp as you. It's like, good news is great because it's so few and far between, but come on, this is, there's looking a gift horse in the mouth, but we've been fucked by these people before. Well,
and it's like, even the open letter, like I said, it's not even support. they still managed to smear him in this open
Right.
letter of support, like, oh, we condemn his, his behavior and whatever. And, he could be a hacker, despite the fact that the key witness regarding the hacking allegations has admitted to being a total liar. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's even in this letter of support, they still managed to like stab him in the back, which is what they do. And this is the case across the board. If you watch any mainstream media coverage of the Julian Assange case, with the exception of maybe Tucker Carlson, which pains me to say because I think he's a piece of shit. And he is also a propagandist, make no mistake about it. But for whatever reason, he's allowed to cover Julian Assange. And he's done fairly decent coverage. He's had some good people on his show to talk about it. And they're always allowed to speak freely about it, which is unheard of in mainstream media. But mainstream media coverage of Julian Assange is always slanted. It's always like, oh, this is a threat to the First Amendment, but Julian Assange is this, always a narcissist, always, you know what I mean? They always manage to throw in these smears. And usually it's the smears first, and then towards the bottom, they say, yeah, but this could be bad for the First Amendment, which is how they always front load those kinds of stories, because most people don't read past the headlines. And that's, yes, these people are incredibly suspect. I doubt their motives. I would guess that it's just really a matter of the fact that the tide is turning and they know it. And this is just an attempt to kind of cover their asses, I think, in a way. They want to be able to say, yeah, we totally supported Julian Assange this whole time, oh, I can't believe that he died in prison. That's just such a shame. We've always been such a huge supporter. No, you haven't. And that's going to be the case. And I tweeted, I think at Nick from RBN, because he tweeted something about progressives still don't have anything to say about Julian Assange. Maybe now that it's become acceptable in the mainstream press that they'll finally talk about it. And I've been saying this for years. What's going to happen is Julian Assange is going to die in prison or whatever. And then all of a sudden, all these people will come along and pretend that they always supported him. And I'm not fucking having it, dude. I'm not having it. We could have used this kind of a letter years ago. We could have used this kind of, again, not even this kind of support, but, we could have used not having a decade of The Guardian and the New York Times smearing Julian Assange, because that was incredibly detrimental to his case. They know it. They're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. And it is because of their coverage, because of their propaganda campaign against Julian Assange that he is where he is. Again, you cannot understate the influence that the media has had in the way that Julian Assange has been allowed to be treated. There's no denying it.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell by even just on Twitter alone, the throngs of sheep that have that follow New York Times, The Guardian, all these rags.
I have to deal with those people all the time.
Yeah, and it's like these you can't tell these people these aren't real journalists. These are propagandists, because they don't want to hear that. It's just like with everything else, with COVID or Trump or with Ukraine. It's just you can't tell them that they are being lied to on the regular. And these people are no different about Assange too. Like, do you think maybe it's like you said? Maybe, I mean, when's the last time anybody had any contact with Julian Assange?
That's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down. Aside from his family, no, I don't know that anybody's had. Nobody gets letters from him. Nobody hears from him. The only statements that we've gotten from him is one letter from Gordon Demick a couple years ago that Gordon read aloud on his show. Shout out to Gordon Demick. If you're not following Gordon, please do. He is one hell of a guy and does amazing work and really deserves a ton of support and credit. But yeah, that one letter. And then earlier this year, there was a very weird promotion of a State Department backed app surrounding the Ukraine conflict, which was also that's what I'm saying. Over the past year or so, just recently, WikiLeaks, the website has been disappearing. Cables are going down. The website was shut down, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody from Stella's not talking about it. Gabriel's not talking about it. Kristen Harassen's not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. Supporters are talking about it, and we're all asking questions. And then we get people on Twitter who are like, how dare you ask questions? Are you kidding me? Like, yes, I'm asking questions. That's weird. that's suspect. Like that, there's something going on. And the app promotion, that was shady. I called that out when it happened. There's just been a lot of really weird stuff. And I don't think it's unreasonable that supporters all over the globe of Julian Assange should start demanding to hear from him and to see him physically. You know, we have no idea what condition he's in. We have no idea if he's even alive. And I mean, I don't mean to be like conspiratorial. I think he's alive, but I'm just saying we don't know anything. We have no, and there's very little communication between WikiLeaks or, you know, that whole group towards actual supporters. It's very difficult to get information. And I don't mean to, like, I'm not trying to cause drama, but I have questions. We all have questions, and they're valid questions. And anybody who supports Julian Assange, this is exactly what Julian Assange would be questioning. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, this is not an unreasonable, not an unreasonable thing, right? To be suspicious of this kind of stuff, and to ask questions and want to know what's going on. I trust no one blindly. No one, absolutely no one. And I don't like, you know, people poo-pooing me online saying, how dare you ask? Go fuck yourself. I'm going to ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, because nobody else is. Nobody else is asking a question. I mean, very few of us are asking questions, but like we said, the sheep definitely aren't asking questions, because if they did, they wouldn't like what they were going to hear, because it would be so outside of their comfort zones. You know, that's why they're sheep. They like being in that comfort zone and believing the mainstream media, you know, and the mainstream media has lied to us on the regular, like we said, over the, you know, like I said, with daily. Trump and all these things that's been happening in rapid succession daily, you know. And listen, so why
mainstream media, it's not even just they're lying to you, they are manipulating you, they're gaslighting you, they're manufacturing your reality for you. We have no idea what's actually going on in the world. Mainstream media has kind of a monopoly on the narrative, on the kind of broader narrative. Obviously, independent media is trying valiantly to kind of combat that. But that's why they're clamping down on social media and on YouTube, and all the censorship is going absolutely. I mean, Garland Nixon was just banned from Twitter under Elon Musk, the free speech warrior, right? You know, Elon Musk was on Twitter today talking about how, we got a journalism blow. You just banned Garland Nixon, perma-banned, like lifetime ban, a journalist, because he made a snarky tweet about Ukraine or some shit. That's, you know, that's where we're at. Like it's bad. Like I say it all the time. We're fucked. Like we are fucked. And it's only getting worse. And it's ridiculous that I have to keep screaming about this, and that more people aren't. I'm shocked. I am shocked. Honestly, I didn't think much could shock me, but I am absolutely befuddled as to how, in a time where everybody is clutching their pearls about misinformation and fake news. So why is there not more support for the one guy on planet Earth who we know for sure has never published any? That's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's weird. Yeah. It's a weird thing. It's a weird time to be alive. I don't know why it's so hard to garner support for Julian Assange. It's a very strange thing.
Well, that was probably it. I mean, that's probably why he's in Belmarsh in the first place, because he is someone. I mean, even before he published all that material, the trust in the media, in the mainstream media, was going downhill anyway. You know, after when Bush was president, and the way he manipulated the media, and Obama the same way, the way he manipulated the media, nobody trusted the media. They didn't trust the government. They didn't trust the media. Right. But here's this bright shining light of information who comes along, boom, exposes the Democratic Party, boom, exposes all this information about the government. I mean, and totally true, like you said, never had to retract anything. You know, that's how meticulous he was with that. And so now he's in Belmarsh. That's the thing. It's the timing of this. It just seems ominous to me that, like, maybe something has happened to him, or is going to happen to him.
Yes, I agree. You know? Well, I mean, listen, we're a hair's breadth away from possible extradition. We still don't have a ruling from the High Court on that. The perfected grounds for appeal was submitted, I don't know, 2 months ago. And we still don't have a decision or a ruling on that, which is also weird. And not a word from anybody about where we're at in that process, or what we're supposed to be doing, or how we it's just very weird. And it's I don't know. Honestly, they don't want him to come to the United States. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I think that they would much prefer for him to die in Belmarsh, or to, honestly, I'm surprised that when he contracted COVID a while back, that they didn't use that as an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think they want to bring him to the United States. I think that they know that if they do that, the ability of mainstream press to be able to bury that is going to be much more difficult. If they bring him stateside, I mean, I'm already loud. I would be so much louder. And I know that a lot of other people would be as well. And I just don't think that they want that hassle. I think that causes a lot more problems for them than they really, because right now they're able to essentially torture this guy to death, in quiet, in the dark. Most people have no idea it's happening. You know what I mean? Like the average American citizen has no idea who Julian Assange is. They have no idea what WikiLeaks is. They have no idea what WikiLeaks revealed. They have no idea what's happening to Julian Assange. They have no idea how it impacts their life, or how it's being used to squash dissent and free speech and press freedom around the globe. I mean, I say it all the time. Let's not get it twisted. The persecution of Julian Assange is the United States seeking global jurisdiction over information and journalism, period. That is what this boils down to. And that means that nobody anywhere is safe. Remember, they get to define what a journalist is. They get to define what journalism is. So that means if you have a blog, if you have a Twitter, if you have a YouTube channel, and if you publish anything anywhere remotely public that they don't like, that embarrasses them, that goes against their narrative, they can come for you. That's what that means. And that's terrifying. It's why are more people not completely freaked the fuck out about that? That alone freaks me the fuck out.
Well, it's like you said, it's not a lot of people know who he is. And of course,
no, but I mean the people that media, know.
Well, even the people that know, they see that he's in this prison, right? For no crime whatsoever. So
None.
that instills fear into the public.
He's not even being held with charge. And that's been the case. He was arrested on April 11th, 2019. He was given a 50-week sentence for bail jumping, which was also bullshit, but that was 50 weeks. So April 11th, 2019, 50 weeks to the end of that sentence. And every single second after that, he has been held without charge in a maximum security prison, surrounded by terrorists and murderers. This is a journalist. He has no history of violence. He's very kind of quiet, soft-spoken, intellectual type, being held in a supermax prison with terrorists for the crime of, again, just telling the truth.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
And he's being used as a tool, like I said, a cautionary tale for any other journalist that
and it works.
Who would follow. Yeah, it works. I mean, who else has followed in his footsteps?
Look at the state of journalism.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Listen.
If you go back and look at journalism around 2010, 2011, when WikiLeaks first kind of rose to prominence, it wasn't great. Like, journalism has never really been great. Mainstream journalism in this country has never really been great, but it was much better than it is now. And every second since the persecution of Julian Assange has started, that has declined. And it is we do not have there's no journalism in mainstream press at all. Zero. There's none. Every once in a while, they're allowed to tell like a rogue bit of truth to kind of give credibility to their bullshit. If there's a little bit of truth in here, then that gives, it kind of lends credence to some of the bullshit that we spew every other minute of the day. But somebody on Twitter, I think it was Brooke, somebody on Twitter today said, it was effective. Look at the state of journalism. And while I agree with that, I also want to push back ever so slightly, because I see people like Whitney Webb and Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett and Max Blumenthal and Kit Clarenberg and Aaron Matei on Syria and all that stuff. And there are a lot of really amazing journalists still working. Fiorella, Isabel, Pasta. There are a lot of really amazing journalists out there still doing incredible work. They have to do so on the fringes. They have to do so and combat constant attacks. But they are doing amazing work.
Yeah, I mean, and censorship too. Like you said, they're on the fringes, and I think that's the point. It's like there are amazing journalistic voices out there, but they're only being heard in certain avenues, almost like in hushed tones. Like you can only say certain things on YouTube, for example, before you get booted off there, and that's like the main. For independent people, that's like for people who want to consume independent journalism, that's like one of the main places they go to, and even that is like unfortunately because it's saturated with all this corporate shit, all this corporate news in there too, so they have to go to YouTube, where they go to Rockfin or Rumble, where they can actually speak 100% of the truth without being censored, but at the same time, those are kind of niche platforms too, like I know people, I say, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Rumble and Rockfin, and they're like, who? Yeah, all they know is YouTube, right? Or all they know is Facebook, or all they know is Twitter, like the main ones. It's just like, it's like a microcosm of the mainstream media. It's like all people know is CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. They don't know anything else. They don't know there's alternative, like, independent sources out there. And you're getting shadow banned on social media when you try to, like, Max Blumenthal or any, Whitney Webb, any of those who try to get their message out on social media. A lot of times they get shadow banned, and a lot of people don't see those tweets, or they don't see those posts on Facebook or whatever. So it's there's a,
and that's what I mean though, Warren. That's like, it's only going to continue to get worse. I've been saying that for years, and unfortunately I've been proven right time and time again. And listen, I would love to be wrong. I'm not. It's going to continue to get worse. They are trying to sign. This is not about Julian Assange. It's not. Like, listen, I'm not saying that his life isn't worth saving. It absolutely is. Dude has sacrificed so much. You know what I mean? Like, he has already sacrificed so much to bring us the truth. Frankly, it pisses me off that he put so much on the line. And when all of this information came out, nobody cared. Nobody cared that literal war crimes were captured on camera. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody said we need to go after those people who committed those war crimes, or who sanctioned those war crimes, or who called for those war crimes to be committed. It was just like, oh, look at that, war crimes. And everybody moved on. And then they want to persecute the guy who exposed the war crimes. Like, what kind of psychopath do you have to be to watch the collateral murder video and be mad at the guy that published it? What's wrong with you? Like, who hurt you? Like, what is wrong with you? That's who you're mad at. The guy that exposed this shit. This is billions, trillions of your dollars being spent on war to kill, rape, torture, crucify, murder innocent people, steal their resources, and line the pockets of corporations. And you're mad at the guy that exposed that? Come on. Like, we're fucked. I'll say it again. We're fucked.
It's not, and this is, I mean, when it comes to war, it's nothing new. Like, in the whole history of the country, there's only been like 17 years of actual peace. The rest of the time, America's been.
All wars are racket. All of it. It's never about what you think it's about. It's never about what you're told it's about. It's never about freedom and democracy and liberating people. It's never about that. Ever. Anybody who thinks it is, you're a fool. It is not ever about that. How many times they get to lie to you? Seriously, how many times do they get to lie to you before your sense of skepticism kicks in? Gulf of Tonkin didn't do it. Weapons of mass destruction didn't do it. Incubator babies didn't do it. Like, what is it going to take? Again, you have this guy who comes and revolutionizes the way that journalism is done. Everybody uses a Dropbox, right? Everybody's got a Dropbox, right? Who do you think that was WikiLeaks? They revolutionized the way that whistleblowing was able to be done, the way journalism was able to be done, and the stated purpose for WikiLeaks was to be kind of an intelligence agency for the people, for us. They exposed the lies and corruption and criminality of governments for us. And everybody just wants to throw him under the bus, that nobody cares that he's dying. Nobody cares that he's being tortured. And instead they will run cover for the people who committed the war crimes and who, raped, pillaged, and plundered while wanting to crucify the guy that exposed it. It's just weird to me. I don't understand that line of thinking. I can't. There's nothing about that makes sense to me.
Well, the conditioning of Americans in particular has been going on for a long time. I mean, this was long before Julian Assange ever came on the scene, and that was the thing. I think what they saw, his genius, more or less, his new way of bringing whistleblowers to the forefront, the technology that he was using to keep everything, protected and secure like that. He was a literal threat to, when I say he was a threat to national security, I don't mean like what national security normal people think about, like the defense of the country. I'm talking about the national security of keeping the imperialism going, because the United States is bound and determined to be the ruler of the planet. I know it sounds like it's, you're saying, well, no, that's just nonsense. They don't want to do. Yes, they do. They prove time and time again. They've said they've had their fingers in everything around the world. We have 1,000
military bases. 1,000 military bases around the country.
The ones we know about, anyway.
To control the globe.
Exactly.
Frankly, we are controlling the globe currently.
We are.
But there's Russia and China and some other plucky little countries like Venezuela who are attempting to stand up to power. And I know my Twitter handle is Comrade Misty is Putin's buddy. It's a joke, you guys. I don't like Putin. I don't like any world leaders. They're all psychopaths. You cannot reach that level of power without being kind of a psychopath, right? I'm no Putin fan. I'm not like some like super big fan of China or like, you know what I mean? Like I don't like worship any government, period, ever. But listen, somebody's got to defeat the empire. We're destroying the globe. Like, that's what we do. Like, somebody tweeted out the other day, what is your country known for? And I said, being the world's largest terrorist organization and history's most destructive force.
Yeah.
That's what my country's known for. I mean, just look at how many countries currently are we fucking with? 10, 12, 20, probably. More? Yeah. We don't know. We really don't know because, again, it's all done in secrecy, which is what WikiLeaks was founded for, was to pull the curtain back on some of that and expose the things that are being done in our names that we didn't agree to, we didn't vote for, we don't support, we don't endorse, yet our tax dollars and, our country, it's all being done in our names. And yeah, it's it's a very frustrating thing, again, that people are more angry at the guy who exposed this shit than they are at the people who are doing it. And I am never going to be able to understand that.
It's the brainwashing worked. It worked extremely well. I mean, that's all you can say about that.
Nobody does propaganda like the United States of America, period. End of story. Nobody comes close. And people argue with me, oh, but North Korea, or oh, but Russia. No, y'all. This country is by far the most propagandized country on earth, and it's not even close. It's not even close, you guys. We are bombarded in this country from birth. Like, the moment we exit the womb, we are beat over the head with pure propaganda, constant pure propaganda. The whole, we're the greatest country on earth, and democracy, and humanitarian efforts. We are not, we don't do anything for humanitarian reasons ever.
I mean, one of the old school ways they propagate this lying to people is the projection. That's when you say, like, when people think that Russia or China, they're the biggest propagandists, it's because the U.S. told these people that they were the biggest propagandists, and not because they know firsthand. Yeah. I mean, look at Europe, man. This is how the United States is running shit around the world. Look at Europe right now. They are willing to freeze to death before they will ever go against Putin before they'll ever, drop sanctions against Putin and get the oil so they can stay warm, because they're so fucking scared of the United States. They'll think they're going to bring democracy, and democracy comes in tanks and rocket launchers and stuff like that. That's democracy. But the people making that decision, those decisions for European countries, those people will not freeze. They'll be just fine. No, so they don't care. And they are the United States bitch countries. I mean, that's all it is. Like, you have no autonomy if you are England or Ireland or Australia. You have no like you have no independence. You are not. You are. Caitlin Johnstone calls Australia the United States basement gimp, and she's 100%. That's 100% accurate. Because people are so afraid of the United States, they're able to get away with this kind of stuff. And it's because, again, if we're just going to circle this all the way back around, it's because of outlets like the New York Times and like the Guardian, because they have to sell it, right? They have to make it kind of palatable to the everyday citizen, right? Because if they didn't, if people knew like the truth about what's happening to Julian Assange, what he exposed, all of that stuff, there would be riots in the streets. I have no doubt about it. But it's because outlets like The Guardian lie and smear and misinform and just run pure propaganda, that they're able to get away with it because they're able to sell it to the masses and convince people. I mean, listen, I deal with people every single day who are still in the year of our Lord 2022 repeating the same easily debunkable bullshit about Julian Assange. Still, today I had to deal with some people who were talking about Julian Assange's espionage, and my favorite is that he's a traitor. He's not American. If somebody could please explain to me how you could be a traitor to a country you weren't born in and have never lived in, I would love for you to explain that to me, because I don't know how that works. Well, that's easy.
The hacker thing, or all of that stuff. Like, they're still regurgitating that same stuff that has been thoroughly debunked for a while. Well,
it's easy to say he's a traitor because Australia is one of our states, right? So we own Australia, so of course he must be a citizen of the United States. Ergo, he's a traitor. But it's like you said, it's like some people don't know enough about him, and the only things they do know about him was the lies that's been told about him, like he was a pervert or something like that, or like you said, he's smearing shit on the walls and stuff like that. All this stuff to discredit him because they know how much power he has to proliferate that information out there. Because he only let out a little bit of information. It wasn't like he let out the whole can of worms. It was just a taste.
It's a lot of information. I mean, to be fair,
it was a lot of
millions of documents, but it's nowhere near the full extent of the shenanigans that are happening, for sure.
And they saw that too. They saw that what he could do. And they're like, oh shit, he's going to spill the whole fucking thing. And if he does that, then that's the end of the American empire.
At this point, though, I don't think that they're necessarily afraid of him and the information that he could release at some point. Listen, and I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer here, but they have effectively destroyed this man. He is not going, if he is released, he is not going to be the same. He is never, and that's not to say that he can't recover or that he won't work or that he's never going to be able to do anything ever again. But he has been subjected to psychological torture for over a decade. He has been held in really horrendous conditions in Belmarsh prison for coming up on 4 years in April. You do not come out of that the same. You just don't. Yeah. But what this is, and that's why earlier I started to say that it's not about Julian Assange. He is being used, and I liken him to kind of the proverbial head on a stake outside the castle walls. He is the warning shot to whistleblowers and journalists around the globe. If you fuck with us, this is what we will do to you. And it's already been effective. That's why I'm not unconvinced that potentially maybe he will be released at some point soon. Maybe that's what this article is about. Maybe they're, again, trying to cover their asses, like, oh, look, we've supported him this whole time. Because I could see them releasing him at some point now, because I think that the point has been made rather effectively. We've seen the effect that it's had on journalism as a whole around the globe. We've seen the effect that, I mean, when's the last legit whistleblower we've had? I'm pretty sure it was Daniel Hale, maybe. You know, like big. I'm sure that there are whistleblowers at, you know, small corporations around the country or whatever on different things or whatever. But the last major leak that we've had, I think, was probably Daniel Hale, or was Reality Winner first? I don't remember. But yeah, I think that it's already been effective. They've already essentially destroyed his, and it makes me sad, Warren, because, and again, here come the people, oh, she's so obsessed with Julian Assange, but there's no denying that he is one of our greatest minds. Again, revolutionized the way that journalism is done, really turned it into a science. You know, being able to have authenticated source documentation, have that 100% record of accuracy. All of the, if you go back and watch the videos of him, like there's the one that keeps getting circulated over and over again about Afghanistan, and him saying that it was essentially a money laundering scheme and that the goal was not a successful war. The goal was an endless war. And there's video after video after video after video of him saying things like that, that were very prescient, very profound. He was always ahead of his time. He was always able to kind of call these things out long. I mean, he called out Facebook and warned everybody about Facebook in like 2013 before anybody else knew that Facebook was crazy corrupt and basically just a spying operation. So he's always been really ahead of his time. It makes me sad because it's gone. Like that's, even if he's released again, I don't mean to be like negative or Debbie, he's not going to be the same. I keep hearing a lot of supporters say, oh, I can't wait for Julian Assange to get out so he can go back to, you know, releasing. I don't know that that's going to happen.
He's gonna need some time to, if he's released, and I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer either, but I mean, you know, I'm a realist these days. You have to be a realist. You know, it's quite possible he's never going to leave that prison, you know, and because out of sight, out of mind, right? I mean, the only people who are paying attention are being, like I said, they're being shadow banned on social media. You know, they're getting their channels taken away. They're getting taken off of social media, like Garland Nixon. You know, it's smeared, everything in the book, because you know, you could cut the head off and then 7 more will grow out, but these other heads are getting cut off as well. You know, it's just, they're playing whack-a-mole with people and trying to discredit, like, indie media. The indie media is the only one that's doing anything about this. Obviously,
and it's not even all of, like, that's another thing.
And it's not even all of the indie media either.
I have to beg independent media to cover Julian Assange. The one group of people who should be have the most urgency about what's happening to him. Who do you think they're coming for first, assholes? You. They're coming for you. Like, you aren't you have no backing. You're not MSNBC. You're not corporate run. You're not I mean, if you're doing it right, you're not a stenographer for power. They're coming for you first, homie. And I have to beg independent media to cover Julian Assange. And then there are those people who will cover it like once every 6 months, do like an 8-minute video once every 6 months or something and call it a day. That's not good enough. And I like people, oh, you want them to cover it every day? No, like, come on, don't be ridiculous. But this is, to me, one of, if not the biggest story that's happening, because it impacts everything else. I mean, what happens to Julian Assange, and I know that sounds dramatic, but it genuinely does impact everything else. If we do not have the ability to speak, if we do not have the ability to hold governments accountable, if we do not have the ability to protest, if we do not have the ability to dissent, if we don't have the ability to have conversations, what the actual fuck do you think you're going to be able to do? Nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. Like, that's what this is.
And what has the government's been doing since he's been in prison? You know, I mean, all the shit that they've gotten away with over the last few years, taking away people's civil liberties,
That's another thing that makes me sad. I think about that all the time. What might we know if Julian Assange were free today? What might we know? And that makes me sad. Frankly, we need 1,000 WikiLeaks across the globe. People will always say, oh, but he only released, which is not true. He doesn't only release information about the United States. I'll let you know. I usually say that you could go to WikiLeaks and there's a handy dandy search bar. You can go and you can type, but the website's a little shady right now. So you may be able to find it. You may not. But WikiLeaks has released information about dozens of countries, corporations around the world, toxic dumping, and all kinds of stuff, guys. But even if, Julian Assange was somehow, I don't care. Like, even if, let's just pretend for a moment that Julian Assange was heavily biased, was like a huge Trump lover, was working for Russia, all of the terrible things that they say, I still don't care because they publish the truth. And so I don't care where the truth comes from. The truth is the truth, no matter who speaks it.
Exactly.
And in my opinion, we just need 1,000 more of WikiLeaks, all working hard to counteract each other's leaks and work, you know what I mean? Like, I want as much truth as possible. Bring it all on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, I want that. And I don't understand people who don't want to know. There's a lot of those people who are fine. Frankly, if anything has been more depressing to me over the past, I don't know, 6-7 years or so ish, it's the realization that a lot of people are fine with authoritarianism. And a lot of people are fine with unaccountable government, and they're fine with being told what to do and how to live. I don't understand it, but it's pretty prevalent, which is really depressing.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they're in their comfort zones now, and then when they're taken out of those comfort zones later, it's going to be too late. It's going to be, and they're going to wonder why no one told them. And people have been screaming at them this whole time. We've been screaming at you forever, and by the time you finally get it, it's too late. And that's
and
that's
so many people. And we talked about this a little bit before we started. So today I had somebody sent me a screenshot where somebody said that I'm toxic, or I'm too blunt, or whatever it was. And that turns people off from wanting to support Julian Assange. Okay. So let's dissect how just ridiculous that is. If your support for something hinges on whether or not you like other people who support the thing, you might be a child. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't care who supports or does not support a thing. I support the thing because I support the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's a very strange thing to me. And we like I said, we talked about this a little bit before we went live. I am very well aware of the fact that I'm not for everyone. Do you know what I mean? I am very blunt. I am a loudmouth. I am impatient. And to be fair to myself, when I first got heavily involved in the Assange stuff, you can go back and look. I tried being nice. I tried asking politely. For a long time, I tried that route. It did not work. I lost patience. But it's not about me. And if you're making it about me, you have completely lost the plot. It's not about me. It's not about any individual Assange supporter. It's about the principle. And so, it's a really weird thing to me to be smeared and attacked. And I have legitimate stalkers now. It's a very strange thing. And my favorite one is that like I've mentioned a couple of times, that you're obsessed. Okay. First of all, and that's the only thing I talk about is Julian Assange. That's demonstrably false. It's not true in even the slightest bit. But I'm always a little befuddled by that, because to me, I want my activists focused.
Right.
I want the people fighting for things that I care about to be passionate, to be all in, to be fighting with everything that they have. And it's a very weird criticism to launch at a, but I've only ever really seen it launched at Assange supporters. We're Assangists, right? I'm sure your audience has seen the Assange smear. I'm a cult leader. Like, I think that's in my Twitter bio. I've been called a cult leader. I have never seen any other branch, maybe environmentalists. I've seen some of that. Maybe vegans. I've seen them be called cults. But it's a very strange thing. I want you to be like, if you're an activist and you're working towards something that you care about, I think it's a prerequisite to be kind of obsessive, right? Like, that's also, I have severe ADHD. I just have hyperfixation on things. But yeah, it's just weird. And those attacks always escalate anytime there's Assange news. Like today, I was getting like just pummeled on the tweeters because there's Assange news, and so they have to try to attack supporters to take away credibility from myself, which then takes credibility away from the movement, because they, you know what I mean? It's just this really weird thing, and it's very obvious. And I'm not saying all of those people are ops. I think a lot of them are. But I think that there's also just a lot of people who are kind of pulled into the, they want to be part of the cool kids, and, they're making fun of these people, so we're going to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like the circular, it's like a circle jerk.
Well, the ops are kind of the Pied Pipers, right? That's how they do it. They are the ones who lead the charge against people like you and call you names and say that you're obsessed and all this. And if you're not obsessed about gatekeepers for the establishment, if you're all in with the establishment, then you're just a lost cause. You know, it's like I said, it's like these people are not going to change until like troops show up at their door ready to take them to camps and stuff like that. Back in the day, people would talk like that, and they accused of wearing tinfoil hats and stuff like that. Now, that's not out of the realm of possibility anymore. It's already happening. We saw that during COVID. We saw it during COVID, and now people are being silenced over, with Russia and Ukraine. So, and the next thing that comes along.
It's crazy. And there will still be people who are like, oh, well, Twitter's a private company. They can do what they want. Y'all, seriously? Like, the federal government went on national television and asked them to censor things. That's happened on more than one occasion. There's no gray space between the government and big tech. That's gone, if it ever existed. And Elon Musk, your savior of free speech, has government contracts. He works with the military-industrial complex. He is not your friend. And he's no friend of free speech. Like, he's this whole... It's mind-blowing to me that people are like, oh, yeah, Elon Musk is going to save free speech. Get the fuck out of here. Are you joking? He won't even talk about Julian Assange. Won't mention him. But yeah, he's such a warrior for free speech. Just, again, permabanned Garland Nixon. And Garland Nixon is far from the only one. Like, there's people who have been banned since Elon Musk has come on board for bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not, it's just it's honestly, this is why I say that we're fucked all the time, because it's just, people will never learn. It's like you said, it will be way too late before people realize what's actually happening and what this all means. I mean, a few months ago, Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand likened free speech to a war crime. And then recently you had conversations surrounding free speech being the equivalent of mass murder. Do you not see the game that is being played here? They're lining you up and prepping you to take away your ability to speak, to take your ability away to ask questions, to hold your government accountable, to redress your government, to protest. There are hundreds of anti-protest laws in various stages of development all across the country right this second. That's what's happening. You know what I mean? And it's been happening. Like, the ramp up of the attacks on the First Amendment. And I don't care what you think of the Constitution, whether it's good, bad, needs to be rewritten, needs to be lit on fire. I don't care what you think. The First Amendment is a big deal. Like, it's like to be able to speak, freedom of religion. And I'm an atheist, but I 100% fully support everybody's freedom of religion. As long as your religion is not hurting anybody and it's not, that should be protected. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, your right to protest, freedom of religion, all of those things have been under massive attack for years. I mean, really, since the beginning of the country. Powerful people don't like their secrets exposed. But Barack Obama, everybody's hero, Barack Obama, right? He escalated it so so
Yeah.
very much. And then Trump just took that and ran with it. And now Joe Biden is taking that and running with it. And it's we are rolling down the hill at this point, and it's going to get a whole lot worse, a whole lot faster. And I don't know, honestly, Warren, I don't know the words to get people to care.
There's only so much you can say. I mean, you know, you're trying. I appreciate. I mean, I love you for it. You're, you know, and you're one of those people that I truly love doing. You're doing the Lord's work, as we say down south. You know what I mean? It's like you're, and if people can't take what you have to say, you know, that's on them. You know, it's their fault that
again,
they're
I
being
don't care if you like me. You don't have to like
Right.
me. I don't even like myself some days. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
But
not
they
about
just
me.
They use that as
not
an
about
excuse, though. You're
Yes.
an excuse for them to not have to listen to the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want
It
to.
makes
You know,
them
she's
uncomfortable.
saying it. Then you know, she's some crackpot. You know, she's like in love with like Julian Assange and all this stuff, and you know, it's this shit like that. So they don't have to think. They don't have to think critically because their friends aren't thinking critically either, and they don't want to go against the herd mentality. You know,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, it's been like that for a long time. But I love you.
Yes.
I do, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you do. You know,
Also,
and
I
I know
really just want to say, because I think Snow Himbo today, and Nick even tweeted out something about my hard work, me personally, and I know that you know that makes me really uncomfortable. I don't like that because it is not me. I realize that on Twitter I'm arguably the loudest Assange supporter, but I am not the only one. I am not the hardest working. I am not the most dedicated or passionate. There are people who have been doing this for far longer than I have, who have been, I mean, listen, the London crew is in the streets twice a week. I wish I could do that. I don't have the capabilities of doing that. I have kids. It's hard for me to find babysitters. I've a daughter with autism. It's a whole thing. I wish I could do that. I do what I can. I never feel like it's enough. But I think I just want to make it clear that although I may be like the face that you often see or the voice that you often hear or the tweet that you often read, there are so many people. Emmy in London, and Ali and Alex in New Zealand, and Halo in Tulsa, and I shouldn't have started naming names because now I'm going to forget people and then feel really terrible. You guys know who you are. And I don't like it when people say that like it's my hard work or that it's our hard work. I'm a tiny, tiny little piece, very tiny little piece. And those people who I just mentioned, James in London, Daniel Fuchs in London, our guy Eric, who we lost this year, those people rarely, if ever, get the credit that they deserve. And so I just want to make people aware that there's a whole lot of people doing an extraordinary amount of work trying to change the tide on this thing.
Well, let me just say this then, and because you are, as somebody in the Ed in the chat said, Misty is humble, and you are humble. But so let me say this: I appreciate your part of the efforts that are being done to make people aware of Julian Assange. All right, you know, because well, I mean, we're family, right? You know, I these other folks that you mentioned, I trust you. I know that they're working hard too, and doing whatever they can. But I know you, so you know, I'm a little biased. So I heap a little more praise on you.
I also don't mean to sound like I'm not appreciative of people who
you just can't take a compliment, lady.
I can't. I'm not. I don't like.
It's okay.
It makes me
I don't either.
uncomfortable, especially surrounding this. You know,
yeah.
like this, because I think it's because honestly I came into it late. Like this has been going on since 2010, 2011, and there have been like Emmy in London, like day one. She's day one frontline soldier. And so it makes me uncomfortable when people give me undue credit when there are people like her who have been on this since day one and legitimately putting in, I mean, just so much work. I don't think people understand how much, if you're not an activist, I don't think you realize how hard it is, how expensive it is, how stressful it is. And so the idea that she has been doing this for over a decade, and she's not the only one, other people too, but that's it. Just I get that, like, we're family, and again, I'm not ungrateful for the props, I guess. I always want to make sure that people know how hard Team Assange around the world works.
I get it. I mean,
you know what
and
I mean?
and that's
because
another
they don't
thing.
get credit ever, and so I
Well,
want
yeah,
to make sure.
That's another
Anytime
thing
I'm
too.
given
It's like
a platform to talk about it, I
right.
want to make sure that they get credit.
Right on. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know that how many people are involved in trying
It's
to
a
get
lot.
Julian Assange free, and you know, and try to, you know, protect press freedoms. You know, that nobody knows a lot of that stuff. So it's like it's people like you who shout them out too. You know, and we appreciate you for that too. For I think it was Dale in the chat says Misty brings many different groups together on Twitter, though, and that's important. You do. You do bring
Thank
people
you.
together. That's part of your gig, you know, and
Yes.
we all appreciate the hard work that
I've
you
been,
and everyone else has put in.
I will take credit for that. Thank you, Dale. If that was Dale who said it, thank you. I will take credit for that because I've always tried to do that, but in particular, over the last year or two ish, I have really, really, really made a concentrated effort to reach out to people who are outside of my personal political bubble, who are people I don't have a lot in common with politically. And something really funny happened in that process. I made a lot of friends with people I don't agree with on much. We don't, I mean, we don't agree on a lot. You know, people like Clint Russell and Reed Coverdale and Scott Horton and Kyle Anzalone and so Connor Freeman and Olivia Rondeau and Eliza Blue and so many people who are to the right, far to the right of me, who are libertarians and conservatives, and you know, but we're friends. We get along. We're able to have conversations about the things where we agree. We're able to disagree respectfully where we do. But I have legitimately made a concentrated effort to try to. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you voted for or what party you belong to, what ism you subscribe to, what books you've read. I don't give a shit. If you are interested in saving free speech or really creating free speech, because we've not really ever had legitimate free speech,
Right.
and press freedom, you're interested in saving press freedom or creating legitimate press freedom, and saving the life of Julian Assange, then you're on my team for that thing. I'll work with you. Like, I don't care. And that goes for people who despise me, who trash me on Twitter, who I don't care. Like, Ryan Graham hates my guts. He's good on Assange. I'll work with Ryan Graham on Assange. He would never work with me, but I would 100%. I've invited him to all of my protests. You know what I mean? I've reached out to him numerous times. I don't care. Like, it's not about my ego. I don't give a shit about myself or my ego, or if you trash me online, I don't give a shit. If you want to show up to one of my protests in a sincere way and you want to help us in the fight to free speech, welcome aboard. I got no beef with you for that. You know what I mean? Like, let's put that aside, and let's fight for this thing where we agree. Because I'm selfish and I want to get shit done, and I am aware enough to know that that means I'm going to have conversations with people that I don't agree with on everything. And I think I tweeted out today, there is literally no one on earth that I agree with 100% of the time. No one.
Right.
I don't even agree with myself 100% of the time. So, I mean, we can disagree. That's fine. Like, we can have those conversations. I don't shy away from debate. I don't shy away from being challenged. I don't shy away from any of that stuff. But I'm selfish and I want to get shit done. So if we have similar interests on something, let's do the damn thing.
Right on. That's a good place to end it right there. I think so. You know, we all have to, that's the thing.
Did anybody
you know,
have any questions? Did I explain the Assange stuff? Okay. I always feel like I ramble on a little bit.
Anybody in the chat have questions?
Anybody
please.
have questions? Are we good? Hey, Kelly's here. Hey, Kelly. Kelly's fantastic. Kelly is the producer extraordinaire for Randy Credico's show, Countdown to Freedom.
Oh,
It's a Julian
really?
Assange centered show. He's been doing it for, they just had their 5-year anniversary, I think, in April. And Randy is a phenomenal human being, an amazing activist. You guys may be familiar with him if you follow me on Twitter. He's the guy who has been doing the billboard truck in DC for months.
Oh, okay.
So he's a badass. His show is amazing. You should go check it out. He has interviewed people like Roger Waters and John Pilger and Chris Hedges and the Shiptons and you name it. And he's awesome. The show's great, and Kelly does a great job too, and she's great. So hi, Kelly. Everybody go check out Countdown to Freedom. Randy Credico. Please.
Right on.
You.
Well,
Any questions? Did anybody have questions? I just want to make sure.
I don't think so. I think you teach. I think you explained the syllabus very well. I mean, the material was
very ranty.
It flowed from you like but it was a good fire. It was a very I know, right? You were chomping at the bit.
I told you my husband made the mistake of asking me what I was coming on for, and I was like, well, I was just going to go on, but then Assange stuff happened, and he's like, what Assange stuff? And I'm like, oh, you should not have asked. So I went on a little mini rant.
I think whatever forces there are in the universe, because originally we were supposed to do this like a couple of weeks ago, I think, 3 weeks ago, and but yeah, I think all the stars aligned, and it was great. You know, obviously. I mean, I'm gonna have to get you on again to talk about other stuff too, because you remember we were talking. I said, look, you could have the whole hour to talk about Assange. Oh well, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I don't think we're gonna do that. And here we are. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. So, and I know you could talk more. I know you really could, and I love you for that. So, you make my job.
I'm pissed off today. I'm just pissed off.
I hear you, and you make my job easy, man. That's why I think I'm gonna bring Misty on, man. I can just kick back, relax, man. I already went to the store, got groceries while you were talking. I came back. It was great.
I warned you. Did I not tell you there will be rants? I was fired up. I knew I had a lot to say. It's been ages since I've even been on a show, and I've been pissed off all day long. Had this bottled up, needed to let it loose. I've been so angry all day long. Fuck the Guardian, and the New York Times for that matter. But in particular, the Guardian. Everybody go on Twitter and tweet at Luke Harding. I think it's Luke Harding 68. Kath Viner, who is, I think, the editor-in-chief of the Guardian. I've been tweeting it out. There's a graphic. Yesterday, conveniently enough, was the 4-year anniversary of the Guardian Manafort story. There's been a push from supporters to have that taken down. They need to take it down. They need to apologize. Any like a letter of support they put out without addressing their own bullshit is empty. So go and pressure them and tell them to take down the story. Tell them to apologize for their part in what's happening to Julian Assange right now. That's how we get shit done. It takes mass public pressure. So go and tweet at them and email them and spread the word. Talk about it. Again, as Warren has pointed out, a lot of this stuff is heavily shadow banned. By any Assange tweet I put out is heavily shadow banned. It's difficult to get information out regarding this case. So the more people we have doing it, the better. And it doesn't take but a couple of minutes to just put together a tweet and put some information out there to your followers. Even if you don't have a big account, that stuff can spread like wildfire. And that's what we need. We need awareness. Like I said, most people, the average person, doesn't have a clue what's happening. So we need help. We need an army of people educating and informing. And I realize that the Assange case can seem a bit overwhelming. It is. It can seem very complex. It's been going on for over a decade. There's a lot of smears and propaganda and bullshit that you have to combat. But you don't have to be an expert in order to do that. There are lots of information and sources out there that you can go to for information to push back on any of that stuff. But really, we just need help getting it out into the public consciousness and making people aware of what's happening and how it impacts their lives. And that's really the key, is making people understand. Unfortunately, most people don't. If it's happening to somebody else, they don't care. But if they realize how it impacts their lives, then they get it. So it's really important to make those ties to the assault on all of us that's happening through Assange, and what kind of the ramifications, the broader ramifications will be if he is extradited and prosecuted in this country for journalism. He will be the first journalist ever in history charged under the Espionage Act, and that sets a precedent moving forward that I honestly do not think that we can come back from. So, I mean, in my opinion, we can't afford to lose this one. So, I mean, we just need help. Please and thank you. We need lots of help.
I said before that I was a realist, and I am, the older you get, the more real things are, and the less you can sugarcoat things. But it is refreshing to know that you and others are out there doing all this work to try to just screaming into the darkness at people to try to get them educated on what
I won't sugarcoat it. We very well may be fighting a losing battle. 100% possible. It's not looking good. We've already lost so much just from the fact that it's gotten to this point. But there are two options. We can either fight or we can just lay down and die. And I don't mean die literally. I mean, we can just let them take away all of our rights and, subjugate us and all of that stuff. And, that's where we're headed. I'm not a lay down and die kind of person. I also am a realist. Some would say I'm a cynic and a pessimist. There's definitely an argument to be made for that. However, if I did not have a teensy little bit of hope in my otherwise cold, dead heart, I wouldn't do what I do. So again, I'm not like I can't just not fight. That's just not in my DNA. So we need other fighters, people who are interested in fighting to help us fight. We're up against it. Like, we are up against legitimately the most powerful forces on earth. We're punching way above our weight class here.
Well, the good news is the good news is we're down, but we're not out. That's the thing.
Right.
And that's the way you got to look at it that way.
I know that's cliche, but it ain't over till it's over. It's not over.
It's not over till it's over.
I will fight until, I think I will be doing this or some form of this. If Julian Assange people ask me all the time, if Julian Assange is free, well, then what? The fight doesn't end there. Exactly. I wish.
That's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It's progress.
This is like kind of the opening battle. It only gets harder and worse from here. So, and we also have people like Daniel Hale still in prison, Leonard Peltier still in prison, Mumia still in prison. There are other people, other political prisoners still in prison. There are other fights to fight, and the fight for free speech will continue forever in perpetuity, because again, as long as we have people in positions of power, those people will not want their secrets exposed. And so this fight will be forever. So put on your running shoes and let's go.
Well, now that you're back on the beat, now you're on the live stream scene really. Again. You should be. We need you back here, Misty.
I will be on Fault Lines in the morning. If anybody wants to tune in, I'll be on Fault Lines. I'm going to also record something with Kyle Anzalone tomorrow regarding Assange. I'm kind of like dipping my toe back into it. We'll see.
Good. I look forward to that. And you can find, of course, she's Comrade Misty on Twitter. Please follow her on Twitter and make sure, that you're helping out as well. I know a lot of my audience, we're right there with you. You're the preacher, we're the choir, but, hopefully that whoever else, we're on a whole bunch of different platforms tonight. We're on Rockfin and Rumble. So hopefully your message will reach out to those people who normally don't watch YouTube anymore. Maybe, you may change a few minds, and I really hope that happens. So, but
Kelly just asked, aside from tweeting, how can you help? So many ways. You can organize in your area. You can get a hold of Halo Benson on Twitter. Halo has created like these little starter packs for people who want to get involved in the Assange fight. It just has like a bunch of literature and information and stickers and buttons and all that stuff to get you started. You can hang up flyers. You can just having conversations with people in real life about what's happening to Julian Assange is huge. Really, one of the biggest fights that we have right now, though, is just getting the information out there. Again, heavily shadow banned. Most people have no idea what's going on. So just helping to get people aware of what's going on is so huge. That's a huge part of the battle. You can read for yourself and share Nils Melzer's book, Stefan Yamaruzzi's book. Share all of the stuff that you see on social media from Assange supporters, all of that stuff. Like it really is just trying to combat the censorship, the shadow banning, and the gross misinformation that's proliferated around the Assange case. Helping us combat that kind of stuff is massive.
Well, Misty, I appreciate you coming on tonight. This was, I know you was going to breathe fire. I was telling people today, I said, this is going to be a flamethrower. And you brought the goods.
Sorry for ranting, guys.
I'm like more, please. Nom nom. Me hungry. What do you want? Me, I always want more, but
I warned you in advance, so
you did, and like I said, you saw my response. I was like, yeah, bring it. Let's go. Let's rock and roll, baby. I mean, because like I said, when you come on here and you tell the truth. I like the way you tell the truth. You're no holes barred, and you're putting the truth out there the way it's supposed to be, right? I mean, and I appreciate you in that respect as well. So, and you and your colleagues that are doing everything for Julian Assange, I appreciate everything y'all are doing. So, be sure to check her out on Twitter. Are you going to have Action for Assange? Is that coming back anytime soon? Any of your other shows?
For sure. Yes. I will never step away from Action for Assange as long as Julian Assange is in prison. I have just been taking a break in general. A few weeks before the October 8th thing that we did in DC, I started dealing with some health stuff. I'm not going to go into like super deep. I don't know anything yet. So I've just been trying to just take a breather from everything and just kind of try to manage my stress levels a little bit better. So yeah, but I will never, Action for Assange is not going anywhere. I've just been kind of taking a breather. I'll probably do an A4A just to update about this stuff. Matt Kennard has a great article out today. There's other things that need to be, I want to talk about the October 8th event. I want to talk about our fundraising stuff because we raised, thanks to Jimmy Dore, we raised a shit ton of money that I was completely unable to spend because it came in like 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours right before the event. So we have some fundraising dollars left over that we need to figure out what we're going to do with, if we're going to do billboards or whatever. But I want to talk to the Action for Assange family and get feedback on that. So I'll probably do an A4A maybe this week, maybe next week, just depending on my schedule. I have a lot going on. My kids got basketball and blah, 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 blah. So I'll try to find some time here in the next couple of weeks. For sure, and just do like one big A4A update show. But that I'll never stop doing A4A. Right on. At least as long as Assange is in prison. So yeah, I'll probably be I'll be back on that here pretty soon.
Cool. Well, hang on a second. I'll give you a proper goodbye before we get out of here. I just want to remind everybody that next week, next Monday night. Ooh, I got a little short. What happened there? I'm shrinking. I must have been in the pool. So next week, it's like winter. What the hell? Who's swimming? So next week on Extra Bulla Live, another special treat. Of course, tonight was a special treat. Very cathartic tonight. So I really appreciate tonight. This is a legendary night in my opinion. So, but next week I've got Keaton and Russell, the guys from Due Dissonance. They're going to be on, and we're going to talk. We're going to talk. They're New York guys like I am. We're going to talk about politics, and I believe Russell has like a theater background too. So we'll talk a little about that and stuff like that. So that's going to be next week, same bat time, same bat channel, at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, don't forget Saturday night at midnight, me and Miss Jimmy will be back for the secret show. Shh. all kinds of nuttiness and naughtiness, and of course chickens. You can't forget chickens. So, and also, you know, because I like to abuse Joe Biden, if you're new, please like, share, and subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. So we can have, you know, we have quality guests like Misty on, and the guys from Due Dissidents, and Willie Bragg, and Colin, my buddy from INN. You know, I like these kind of shows because I like to share their knowledge. I like to share their experiences. Because they're such wonderful people. We don't have shitty people on this show. This is a highbrow show, okay? You know, this is top shelf, all right?
Warren's
this is
a
not
classy broad.
This is not Food Club, okay? This is name brand, son. You heard? Anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Everybody, there's so many people in the chat. I love all y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being family. You know, we are one big, huge family. I love every single one of you. I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Peace!